I don't even think Josh uses the music anymore.
I think Josh is just that good at it because he does 5 shows a day.
Yeah, that's true. It looks like we're live, at least on Periscope.
And that looks like we are as well on YouTube. So if you want to drop that one in the old Slack chat, I will get the tweet out there and we will get this show on the road. And this will be a fun one because we have a game in London today. This is the first time that MLB has had an official in-game or in-season game in Europe. So interesting. I'm happy. I'm intrigued. I hope they enjoy it. I was reading up on some of the festivities that they're doing there. They're trying to bring American food and ballpark food and stuff to the. There's breweries and other areas around the London Stadium, and it's not Wembley Stadium. This is actually London Stadium. But it's interesting. So quickly talking about the park there, I'm going to drop this this tweet in chat. Hey, if you guys want to retweet that for us, that would be awesome. Let's see if Jake and I can get a few hundred people watching us live. That's always fun to see here. And we will turn this into a podcast, of course. And for those of you listening on the podcast, I will also mark the time when we go switch to the night slate. So there's the 1 o'clock game in London. There are 8 4 o'clock games, and there are 6 8 o'clock games. Yes, those are in fact 8 o'clock games. We will still be doing the show at 6:15. We had a little bit of a scheduling hiccup there, so we should have most of the lineups in it. It'll be no big deal, and then we'll be in Slack for the time leading up until lock. And then special shout out to my wife. Yesterday was our 9-year anniversary, so congrats to me for her sticking around for this long.
Yeah, congrats.
I think that's how it works here, but we will see. But we're gonna go out and have a little celebratory meal, so that'll be fun as always. But I think I got everything lined up, so let's jump on in here with our first game. There's a few of the sites are doing all day slates. I wasn't really excited about this, but I did want to talk a little bit about the ballpark. I was looking at what some of the other people are commenting on throughout the Twitter sphere. So this is not my research nor my information. I'm just reading the different things that I saw. So it sounds like it's higher walls than there are in most MLB stadiums. The center field, I think, is like 380 or 385, so that's a little shorter than most, but again, it's made up for because the walls are higher. There's a lot of foul ground territory because they're repurposing the stadium to have this weekend series there. And then weather is quite the dichotomy. It's warm there today. It'll be cooler there tomorrow. But the dimensions show like you would think it would be more of a hitter's park. But what a lot of people are saying online, and there's divided camps on this, is that it might be a little bit more favorable to pitchers. So we'll have to see. It's one of those you never know. And then even after today, we won't know for sure because it's a 2-game sample size, or I guess after tomorrow. But if you were looking at this particular game, I mean, the pitching is actually good, except for Adam pointed out that Angel Hernandez is going to be the umpire at some point. But we have Rick Porcello and Masahiro Tanaka. So I think both those guys are adequate pitchers, and this is it's a 5-hour flight from the East Coast out there to London, which is not fun. Having been out, I went to Dublin a couple years ago. That's a long flight, and I'm someone that flies back to my family, the Washington D.C. area. I go back to Seattle a lot, and that feels like a long flight. Going across the pond was even farther. So I know these guys travel a lot, but that's not really fun. You're in a new city that's not the U.S. You're not, hotels, whatever, the stuff you're not used to. Everything's just a little bit different. So I'm leaning towards the pitchers in this one. That's my off the cuff assessment, Jake. What does the data tell you?
I mean, the implied totals. So I forgot about this game being in London. I keep having to remind myself, and it's also by itself, so it's a showdown. But I think I'd be probably more interested in Tanaka just because he's a guy that misses a lot of bats. We've seen him have some quality starts lately after a pretty rough showing early, at least from a strikeout perspective. So, I mean, still a 5.3 implied total against him. I just, listening to what you said and looking at the totals, it would seem like this park and this weather would play up to hitters. So probably not too much Porcello for me if I'm playing the showdown. Would be leaning towards Tanaka, and then really like the Yankees bats with a 6.3 implied total here.
Yeah. And Chat's pointing out, these guys don't fly coach. Yeah, no, I know that. But still, you're in an airplane. You're in a cramped space for 6 hours. These guys are not exactly small. It's not like the NFL. And we've even seen it because you get 3 or 4 NFL games a year in London. It mucks with people. It's out of your routine, the norm, etc. I mean, if I was there, I'd want to be screwing around and going and looking at stuff, and it's like it'd be like going to the new city for the first time or going to the NL cities that you haven't been to if you're an AL player, or vice versa. You want to just go check things out. I mean, it's cool going to new large metropolitan areas is always fun. It's a new learning experience. But anyway, now let's get on to the main slate here. So over on Yahoo, our buddies over there are putting out their main slate at 4 o'clock. And there are still, let's look, officially, there are 94 spots left in the management fee-free tournament. So I have already reserved my spots. I do that the night before on the days I'm going to play, which is usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because I have a little bit more time and I like to hand build them. So I've been messing around with Fantasy Cruncher and looking at different stacks and 5-mans and 6-mans. So we'll talk a little bit about that, Jake, because it makes for an interesting build because you have the entire slate. And gosh, there's not a lot of good pitching on the 8 early games. Not like there's some great ones on the late slate, but Yahoo has some intriguing price points. So if you guys haven't signed up yet for that, I'm going to drop the link to the Spotlight Hitters and Stacks article, which also has the link to the Spotlight Pitchers article in it. But in the third paragraph, you will see the Yahoo instructions and the link on how you can sign up with your initial deposit bonus and get up to $30 matched when in Yahoo Sports Rewards Points, which is their version of Yahoo Cash. And it is just as good as cash. You can't withdraw, but you can use it right away into any contest. And that would, conveniently, those $30 will get you 10 entries into that management fee free contest. I played that one last night, Jake. I was talking to you earlier on the show. I got my ass kicked on DK. I played like $250 and I got like $100 back. So not very exciting. And then on Yahoo though, 30 in, 30 out, baby. I survived because the min cash there is double. So I cashed 4 of my 10 teams. I had a variety. I had some crappy pitchers with some good stacks. I had a lot of Dodgers, and then Coors Field, or the Rockies. I had one Rocky stack that ended up doing pretty well. So it's a lot of fun there. You can just try different things with the unique pricing and stuff. So it's a good time. All right, let's now get into the main slate here. Let me call up my weather page because I don't think we have. It's hot. I know that we don't have any precipitation, do we?
I'm not seeing like maybe Miami, but they could always close the roof if they thought that it was gonna rain there. Yeah, I'm actually seeing pretty clean weather today, unless you're seeing something different.
Nope, I just wanted to make sure because I hate to walk into that little assumption and then find out, oops, we missed something. So let's start off here with Cleveland and Baltimore. This one's kind of an interesting game. You have Zach Plesac, who of course has the pedigree, second Plesac in his family to pitch in the major leagues. Going against the Baltimore Orioles, we have Andrew Kashner on the bump for the O's. Let's just say it is hot and warm. I'm about 40 or so miles away from Baltimore, and we are generally in the same weather patterns, and it is already 87 degrees. Here, I had to take the dog out for a walk this morning. We went around 9 o'clock and it was 83 degrees. We went to the park like she likes, and then she got to the park and she was like, "We got to go all the way back home. Can you carry me?" It was not fun, but that's home run weather, Jake. That is home run weather. So talk to me here about Plesac, 8,600 on DK, third most expensive pitcher on Yahoo. I don't think I can get to be playing him, even though this is a good matchup. But let's start with him. Your thoughts, please. Yeah,
Plesac, I think I agree with you. I think just a little bit overpriced here, 8,600. You're kind of paying a premium. And it's a near 5 implied total here for Baltimore. As you mentioned, really good weather. And he's had trouble striking out lefties, 17% for the season. So, I don't know. It's fine. I just don't see this as being he doesn't pay off this price tag, I don't think, very often in this spot, especially when you factor in the weather. And like the Orioles are bad, but they at least have some quality bats, at least bats that have some power.
Yeah, I think they looked pretty good last night with 13 runs. They had Cisco and Santander had the home runs, and
That's
boy,
right.
they just took it. They just took it to. Well, why am I blanking on his name? Not Bieber, but who pitched last night? Not Bieber.
Clevenger.
Clevenger. Thank you. I was thinking Bellinger and Bieber. Clevenger. Thank you, Clevenger. Never get old, Jake. Never get old. It sucks. But in any event, that was just a beatdown. In that game, which was a complete surprise, but hey, that's baseball. So we could see a lot of that today with our 16 pitchers that we have going on this main 4 o'clock slate. But good luck guessing which ones are going to be good and which ones are going to be bad. If you look at our projections, Jake, they're barely separated. I mean, the pitchers are all like, the top 12 are within 4 or 5 points of each other.
Yeah. There's like one guy that stands out that we'll talk about. And he's a brand new name. So,
yes.
Yeah, it's a rough pitching slate. Man, I feel like when me and you have been on shows together, we have had really bad pitching luck in terms of just who's on the mound. Yeah, it's tough today. So probably a lot of mix and match for me.
Well, tonight the analysis is going to be pretty easy. Verlander. Okay, now,
yeah,
what
check.
else are we gonna do? But just a little tongue in cheek there. On the other side here, we have Andrew Cashner. Now, Andrew Cashner, not quite in the Wade Miley, I'm not going to give up a ton of runs category, but he's actually gone like 3 games without giving up a home run. Pretty solid. Does not get blown up nearly as often as one would think, and he's someone that I consider from time to time as an option. Now, this one's tough because of the weather, and it's warm, and you get that implied run total. And what are we really saving on here? So what I'm trying to find with my 2 pitchers today, particularly on DraftKings, because Yahoo, I can still go to the night slate pitchers. So there's some guys we'll talk about on that because they start at 4 o'clock, but they encompass all the games. On DraftKings, I'm just trying to find guys that are going to survive and not implode. And I feel that with Cashner, you're trying to get clean innings. You're hoping he doesn't walk anybody, but he does not get the strikeouts to offset anything. So if there was Coors on the slate, if there was Texas, and it was super hot, or if there was something I felt the need to go to, I'd start looking at Cashner on DK for his price. I'm really not getting there today. I suspect I will have maybe 10% or so in my lineups, just because I don't know what to do, and I don't know where my quote portfolio should be congregating here on the pitchers. But how are you looking at Cashner in our first game here?
Yeah, I'm not really interested in Cashner. I mean, when he's like in the 5,500 to 6K range, I'm usually okay getting a few shares of him. I don't think I'm going to get too much from him here. Just the weather's, too bad for a guy that like basically every ball is put in play. So he doesn't grade out as a decent value for me. I'd rather find some other pitchers that are a little bit more expensive, maybe the guy that we'll talk about in the next couple of games, and then guys that also miss bats, especially when you're talking about 90+ degree weather.
All right, let's hit on our next game here. In conversely, we'll end up spending kind of by default for those watching a little bit more on the pitchers, just because they're not good. So we're trying to give all of our opinions on that. And who do you want to target? Hell, any of them, because wait for it, they're not in good spots. So we're going to kind of focus on it from that angle, because I think will be a little more helpful for everyone here. And we don't have a lot of the starting lineups yet. Those will probably start to trickle in here in a little bit. But if you're wondering why we're focusing on the pitching this morning, that's the approach we're going to roll with on this one, because there aren't any standout options. But in our next game here, let's go back to my sheet. We have Kansas City in Toronto. So it's 80 degrees there. They will probably, I haven't seen it, but they will probably have the roof open there at the Rogers Center. You've got Homer Bailey going against Marcus Stroman. Stroman is great. I just don't want to pay $9,900 for him on DraftKings, but he is on the short list and in the player pool because he does a good job of mitigating damage. I would prefer him to be like 8,300 in mitigating damage for me, but with his lofty ground ball rate. But he does have strikeout ability, just chooses not to go that route because he is one of the most elite ground ball pitchers over the last 2 seasons. So this is encompassing 860 batters. He has a 61% ground ball rate combined to lefties and righties. That is just amazing. So 9,900 though. Jake, how are you feeling about Stroman in this matchup against the Royals? And again, the Royals strike out more than they have in the past, but Stroman doesn't really get there. He's like an 18 or 19% strikeout rate over the last 2 seasons. I'm going from memory on that one, but thoughts on Stroman first?
Yeah, just price out of play. There's a couple pitchers like that for me today. He's probably going to go out there and pitch well and limit the damage, but for 9,900, you need a lot more. You need a ton of strikeouts. And I just don't think that you're really likely to get that here from Stroman. So I get that he's a big favorite. I get that it's Kansas City, but it's not like they're a massive strikeout target anyways. So I'm probably not going to Stroman. Bailey, that being said, I don't think I'm targeting a lot of bats against Stroman. He's a guy I hate targeting against because you mentioned that ground ball rate and just him being a very good real-life pitcher. Bailey is a guy I thought I was going to get to a ton last night when I was writing the Spotlight Pitcher article. And I probably still will get to some Bailey, especially as a pivot off of McKay, who we'll talk about. But just righties versus Toronto has been a pretty profitable endeavor so far. This season, they strike out quite a bit. And Bailey has missed some bats, a lot more than maybe you would think, almost an 11% swinging strike rate, above average chase rate. He's going to give up home runs and hard contact and all that, but I think he can miss bats here against Toronto. So he's the guy I'm more interested in just because of the price, but they have done a good job of pricing him up a little bit. Like he's not basically free like what we've seen in the last few times he started.
Yeah, and that's fair. And with him, it comes down to the lack of strikeouts. But he, I think, is on the short list. Looking over at Yahoo, Stroman is 39, so he is in the mix there as someone. But he's also just $2 less than Brandon Woodruff, $4 less than Zach Eflin, $5 less than Castillo, and we still can maneuver things around to get to Verlander or Greinke because this is the all-day slate. So I think he's in the mix for me there, but there are also some other guys who are a little cheaper than him that will provide some savings. But what that's going to do is keep his popularity somewhat suppressed in that case. And then where do we have him on?
Stroman's 7,400 on FanDuel, so that would be a spot where you'd probably want to target him.
And quality start definitely would be in play for him. I'm just checking. We've got him just 10% on DK, and then let's see. He is. Oops, let me update that because I loaded all of the Yahoo percentages. Come on, Fantasy Cruncher, don't fail me now. For those of you,
pretty hard.
Yeah, it's chugging along. We'll there we go. We'll get there in a sec. Riveting, I know. All right, well, we'll wait for that to come around. And then as soon as I say it now, it pops up. All right, so we have Stroman there at 6%. Okay, that's fine. So we'll have to see. The mileage may vary on that one. Back to our fun at hand. With the hitters in this one, for me, it probably would be Guerrero, Gurriel, Biggio, and then Tellez or Smoke, who returned from the DL or the IL. Smoke's pretty good from the left side, and then Teoscar Hernandez. So there are some guys there, and they're reasonably priced on DK. So you might find a little bit of savings from these guys, particularly with the flexibility of a cheap Teoscar Hernandez and Vladimir Guerrero, allowing you to average down the costs in Gurriel and Biggio. So that makes it a little interesting.
Vlad Guerrero is a really nice cash option on really every site. 3,300 DraftKings, 31 on FanDuel. That's a guy I would love to target against Bailey, even if I'm not stacking up Blue Jays.
All right, on to our next one here. This is where we'll talk about youngster Brendan McKay coming in. Was top draft pick. He is a great hitter, along with being a pitcher. He is drawing the start today. Tampa Bay has also said that they want to get a few looks at him as a hitter as he's coming up. If you're playing on season long, Adam and I were talking about this on the podcast. I didn't look this morning, but I went and picked him up on a few of my season-long teams. He was 15% owned on ESPN and like 20% owned on Yahoo. So you can probably still grab him. He's going to be up, they said, most likely through the All-Star break, and they're just taking a look at him and going to see what's going to happen. So the only concern we have with him, Jake, is what is he going to do for pitches, because he has not gone. His last start was his most pitches in a game, and I think it was in the mid 80s. Prior to that, it had been kind of in the 60s. I think 65-70 is probably an 80% outcome, and I would say, if I set the over/under at 63 pitches today, which way would you land on for him, knowing it's his major league debut and Tampa Bay doesn't push people if they don't need to?
Yeah, I think I would go over on that. 63. I mean, I was thinking more like 70, 75. I think if things are going well. I think so. The important thing with him is at 7,600, I think he's going to have a chance for a win if things go well. Like, I don't think he's getting pulled in the 4th inning or like in the top of the 5th or something like that. He's a guy who can get strikeouts. It's Texas versus lefties, strikes out a ton. You add in, and that was even without Gallo. And now they've got Gallo back, Calhoun, Guzman, Jeff Mathis is in this lineup. So I think assuming he avoids the early blow up, he's definitely in play on all sites. FanDuel, he's 5,700. So, I mean, even if he can go bare minimum 5 innings, he is definitely in play there. He's a pretty sizable favorite for having it be his major league debut. It's a really good park. I mean, he's just got a lot of good things going for him. So the only knock against him would be that pitch count, but I think he's perfectly fine. Like, I'm not worried about him. And half the time when these young guys come up, you don't want him to go that extra inning. Like, if he gets through the 5th and he's got you 16 or 18 DK points, you probably don't even want him coming out and facing the lineup like a 3rd time.
All right. Chad is having some fun. Who nicknamed Jake the Snack? That would be Mrs. Josh Engelman.
Josh made that up.
Well, fun, true story. I wasn't going to say this on air, but I will. I was showing some people at work. We were doing recording some training videos, and they were asking me, how I knew so much about different. We were having trouble with the microphones and some other stuff, so I was trying to help out. And they're like, "Well, how do you know this stuff?" I said, "Well, I've done 2,000 shows and podcasts." They're like, "Wait, what? What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, it's like videos, and these are all women." And they're like, "Well, fantasy sports, I don't understand. You talk about it?" And I was trying to say, "Well, we do podcasts and stuff like this." So I showed them a clip of our show last weekend, and their initial response wasn't, "Oh, that's cool." It was, "Oh, that guy is good looking." And then someone else said, "Oh, he's quite handsome." And then someone else, the younger one, she's probably about 25. She's like, "Oh yeah, he's pretty cute." I'm like, "I'm there too." And they're like, "Yeah, whatever. Let's talk about this guy."
They just didn't want to talk about you in front of you.
Yeah. So there you go.
Probably fawning all over you.
Yep. You have done well in the mid 20s, mid 30s, mid 40s, and mid 50s, Jake. You're scoring across the board. So there we are. Hopefully we'll turn some of them into some viewers. But yeah, it was amusing. It was amusing. So there you go. All right, back here to Adrian Sampson. Tried to delay the inevitable. Gosh, he's trying to convince us he may not be as bad as we thought. I think he's going to be a decent number 4 starter, which is better than what I said about 2 months ago when I said he was one of the worst pitchers in the majors. But 7,000 in Tropicana Field going against a lefty-heavy lineup that does have power in Choi, Meadows, Brandon Lau is solid. I don't know what I want to do with Sampson. He's kind of in that Homer Bailey, Andrew Kashner. He'll be on some of my teams, but no rousing endorsement here for him. How are you approaching Texas in this one, or the Texas pitcher?
I don't think I'm getting to a lot of Sampson. Tampa's just a tough matchup for right-handed pitching when you got Lau and Choi and Meadows, who I really like here at 4,700. And then even the righties, they strike out a little bit, Garcia and Pham, but they're also really good hitters. So, and this is kind of reflected in the implied total for Tampa, 4.7 is pretty decent in that park. So I don't think I'm going to get to a lot of Sampson. If I get to a couple shares, that's fine. But I think I'd rather go to Bailey in that range.
Okay. That sounds fair. Continuing along here, this is where arguably our most talented pitcher is residing. It's not Jose Quintana, but it's his counterpart, Luis Castillo, who is tops on the slate from a price perspective. Tough matchup going against the Cubs. He does carry the highest strikeout rate on the slate, but the issue, Jake, is his projections are not like that much different than 9 other guys. So it's kind of hard to justify paying that kind of a premium for him. What are your plans with Luis Castillo today?
Man, tough spot for Castillo. The only way I would get to a lot of Castillo would just be trying to be intentionally contrarian. And like, it's not like it's a good matchup. It's not like he's going up against Miami or someone and he's just priced through the roof. He's going up against the Cubs in a bad pitcher's park in hot weather. So unless DK knows the Cubs are just rolling out a bad lineup, I don't see a lot of reasons to get to Castillo here. I think his upside is limited, and then you need him to be like perfect at 11-2 to pay off that price tag. And there are some expensive bats that you can pay up for on this slate.
Yeah, there most definitely are. So I mentioned in the Spotlight Hitters and Stacks article the Reds as potential team, and they actually already have their lineup out because it's the Reds, and they always have their lineup. You could probably ask them to put out their lineup for July 4th, and they would give it to you right now. But you've got your buddy Eugenio Suarez at 4K on DraftKings. He was 8 yesterday on Yahoo. Let's see where he is. I know he got priced up like $1. He's 10 on Yahoo. That is my default third baseman at the moment in my placeholder lineup because he has been phenomenal against lefties. Yes, he is slumping, but let's not lose sight of the fact that even though he had a career year last year, it was 34 home runs, 100 and change for RBIs, 79 runs scored, and he had 282 or 283 batting average. For $10 with the platoon advantage on DK for 4,000, batting third. How much Suarez are you rolling with tonight?
Yeah, he used the cash option. Tournaments, it's going to depend on ownership as everything does, but I still think I'm going to get to a fair amount of Suarez one-offs and mini stacks with like Puig or Votto is also pretty cheap at 4,100, even though it's lefty. So I've got some interest in these cheap Reds. Suarez leading the charge, of course. You mentioned his price on Yahoo. His FanDuel price is 2,700, so another cash option there. That's a guy you can find in the cheat sheets on all 3 DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo. So, I don't know if I'm full stacking against Quintana, but these guys are really cheap across the industry.
All right. Quintana's going to be just a no-go for me. 5 to 10%, maybe. He just the weather in the ballpark keep me away from putting him into the Bailey, even the Cashner, or why am I blanking on his name? It's the other guy we mentioned. McKay, thank you. Into that category. I mean, McKay's question mark is how many pitches. Cashner is, well, hopefully he doesn't get blown up. Bailey is hopefully he maneuvers along, and I don't feel good about Quintana at all to put him in that one. We do have in particularly because there's a 7 to 9 mile an hour breeze blowing out to left field, so that bodes well for righties against Quintana, in addition to the small ballpark plus the 92-degree first pitch weather there. So for me, he's probably a no-go on this one. Anything else you want to point out on this game?
No, not. I mean, Schwarber for under 4K leading off against Castillo. I like that price. And same thing with Rizzo at 4,400. Castillo does give up some power, and the weather is really favorable to hitters.
All right. Dropping this link in the chat. So I see some people saying, hey, I've had some good luck since I turned my avatar into the Osmo avatar. Well, hey, did you know if you have the Osmo avatar and you finish in a top 3 in a contest, I think of at least 5,000 people, you can get a free month of Osmo Premium. Now, I dropped the link in there. This is on, if you ever want to find it, this is on the Osmo homepage in the upper right. There's a drop down that says social. And if you choose the Rock the Osmo avatar, and no, I did not come up with that one. That would be something I would come up with, but that was not my alliteration. But it gives you the little instructions on what you need to do to claim your prize, and it's 1 free month. So check it out. We've had quite a few people come in recently on that, and it's a lot of fun here behind the paywall in Premium Slack etc. It's a good time. Rousing conversations at all hours of the night. I was actually in there at like 11:30 last night. I was watching the games, even though I had no chance of winning. I wanted to watch some baseball, so I was in there late. But it's a lot of fun.
Always some interesting conversations going on in the premium Slack.
Indeed. All right, continuing on here, we have Miami hosting Philadelphia. Zach Eflin at 9,300. Zach Eflin's been solid this year, and he's facing the Marlins in Miami. So he gets the goosed price point. On the other side, you have Jordan Yamamoto at 9,100 on DK. Let's just say, hell no, don't even go there. I don't know what we're going to get for strikeouts. Yeah, he's been phenomenal in his first 3 starts. Tepid a little bit in the last one, but the first 2 going against the Cardinals, which was the team he actually was drafted by, and then he was part of the Marcell Ozuna trade. But I can't, in good conscience, go to Jordan Yamamoto here against Philly, and I'd actually be interested in Bruce, Harper, Hoskins, Kingery, etc., sort of as a 3-man stack, maybe a 4-man. I don't think I'd get to a full 5 just because of where some of their prices are and some of the other guys in the ballpark. But the Phillies, I think, stack is very much in play. 4.7 implied run total, Jake, for a game in Miami or in Marlins Park. That's pretty high.
Yeah, I like it. I like the Phillies call. Not on Yamamoto. Just too expensive on DraftKings. Is he cheap on any other site? I mean, 85 on FanDuel, that's not appealing. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to get to Yamamoto. And then the Phillies are dirt cheap. 41 for Harper, 43 for Hoskins, 36 for Real Muto, and then 41 for Bruce on DraftKings. Even Segura, he bats second at 4,200. That's a really nice value. So you get to go up against a guy who's definitely outperforming his metrics. He's obviously not going to keep this up. Even if he's going to be a solid pitcher, I think you can still target against him with these really good Phillies bats, even in a bad park. So maybe some people will be scared off of the Phillies here because of Yamamoto's hot start, but I want to target some bats against him for sure.
Let's see. So Yamamoto actually has not pitched above in the minors. He's clearly in the majors now, but he has not been above AAA. He was in AA this year and last year. So interesting. 9.6 strikeout rate in the minors. That was a little higher than I was expecting, but I don't. That's a tough jump. I mean, the track record of going against in rookie ball, high A and AA is way, way, way different than even AAA, the PCL, or let alone the major league. So if he was a lefty, maybe I'd believe a little bit more in the strikeout stuff. But as a righty, I don't think that's going to continue.
Yeah, just a really tough spot, especially for a guy like we don't believe in him just coming in and mowing down everyone. There's nothing that suggests that he should continue to do this based on what we've seen so far, even though the results have been really good.
All right, Eflin, any burning thoughts for him? He is 43 on Yahoo, so I think very much in play there. But 93, a little tougher. If you were choosing between Eflin and Castillo on DK with that $1,900 difference, would you clearly lean towards Eflin, kind of lean towards Eflin, or hey, Homer Bailey, how are you doing?
Yeah, I think I would drop down to McKay or Bailey. Like looking at my dummy crunch that I ran. Actually, no, that's not true. I did get to some Eflin. So he projects okay, and it's just because he's a righty going up against the Marlins. Looking at his ownership right now, he's projected to be up there, but not up to like in the 20% range right now. So if he's there, that's fine. He would probably be my SP1. Like I wouldn't be going to like double mid tier or something like that. They're just not good pitching options on this slate. And while he's overpriced, he's got one of the better chances at getting you 20 plus DK points, I think, on this slate. So I have no issue with Eflin. I'm fine with whatever I get to him. The Marlins are really, really bad versus righties. Even though people say they're like pesky, the season-long numbers suggest that they are not. So, yeah, give me some Eflin. Not wild about it, but I would have him over Castillo with the savings you get.
Right. I gotta figure out what I did here on. Oh, I bet that's why. No. Interesting. I was. God, so this is how spread out the. So I was worried on, and just to give some thoughts here on why I was looking confused. I was worried I didn't have the right popularity projections uploaded here on Yahoo, but it for the all day slate. But it actually turns out that I do, and it's kind of interesting. So this is the lens that we're looking at here. So we've got Verlander, and remember they go through the end of the evening games, and their main slate starts at 4. But Verlander 37, Woodruff 34, McKay 21, Greinke 16, Castillo 15, Pomeranz 15, Matz 14, Paddock 14, and then nobody else above 8. It is so spread out today. I was seeing all these zeros and low numbers. I mean, Plesac, Cashner, Bailey, Quintana. There's just a ton of guys there that are 0, but why would you go to them? Gray, Kikuchi, even Clayton Kershaw is 0.
Yeah.
Just because they're not projecting well. So that's kind of interesting, because I had it sorted by that column. I'm like, where's all the pitching? I'm missing a bunch of guys. No, I'm actually not. There they are at the bottom. No one's playing them. But among the people nobody's playing, you would say, oh, Zach Plesac. Well, he's the second highest pitcher on the slate. Why would I play him? Dakota Hudson, hey, maybe. But where's the strikeout upside? He's $40, so it's kind of interesting there on Yahoo today. But coming back here, anything else here on the Phillies and Marlins, or shall we continue along with our last couple 4 o'clock games?
I think we're good. Nothing else for me on this game.
All right. Now we've got an interesting one. Austin Voth made his debut and gets another nice matchup. He's going against Detroit. Now, this game has a 11 implied run total already, Jake. We have Gregory Soto, who is coming up from the minors to make a spot start. So let's see. How has he been doing down in the minors? Because he's a bad lefty at this point. He's still pretty young. And so we'd like to think, is the talent going to be there, etc. But let's see what our friends at Baseball Reference have for us. In the minors this season, oh, interesting. He has pitched at AAA, AA, and High A. Okay. 37 total innings, a 1.4 whip, 10 strikeouts per 9, and the ERA, though, 5.5. That's a little bit scary. You want to see really scary. Look at his numbers this season in the bigs. 17 2/3 innings pitched with an 8.6 ERA. 14 strikeouts, 4 home runs, nearly a 2 base runners allowed per inning. And he's going against one of the best teams in the league against lefties. That would be the Washington Nationals, who do have Ryan Zimmerman back. We know that Brian Dozier had a long and illustrious career going against lefties. Whoever is at catcher, Suzuki went last night, so good chance it's Gomes today. He's 2,800 on DK. That's a nice little price savings. You have Soto versus Soto. I mean, who doesn't want a part of that? And Juan has been outstanding in his career against lefties. He has 200 plus ISO, which is pretty killer considering most of that was accumulated while he was just 19 years old last year. I'm really liking the Nats and Austin Voth against the the Tigers, but it's 87 degrees there. That's pretty warm in Detroit. I'm still landing with Austin Voth at his $8,100 price point on Yahoo or DK. He would probably be on 25 to 30% of my teams is my guess, so probably one of my top 2 or 3 pitchers today.
Yeah, the only knock against Voth, and I think what's keeping me underweight on him, or what will possibly keep me underweight on him, is just the weather. These Detroit hitters are not good, but wind blowing out and nearly 90 degrees in Detroit. So
yeah,
that's the issue I have with him. Like, the strikeouts are probably going to be there. It looks like a few more lefties than I thought in this Detroit lineup. So he's another one where I'm just like, I'm okay if I get to some of him, but right now I'm underweight. So I'm really trying to pay down with, I just like to pay down in pitching in general, but especially when it's a tough pitching slate, and just hope a few of these guys can get me in the 15 to 20 DK point range. For 8,100, you need a little bit more than that. And it's a weather thing here. 4.6 implied total against is a little bit concerning. So, Nats on the other side, I'll make it quick. They're right now my favorite stack by a pretty good margin on the early 8-gamer.
All right, that makes it relatively easy. What do you think about these run totals now that they've lifted the cap and they're like, screw it, we're acknowledging that the ball is a little different with the capsule or whatever it is at the core of it now, yada yada yada. People are swinging from their heels. There's more runs scored. I mean, the Nats 6.5, and we're in Detroit. That would be like a once a year kind of thing if the Nats were in Colorado or wind blowing out Chicago. Yet here we are in, July or June in Detroit, 6.5. That we have to recalibrate here. But what are your thoughts in general? I mean, because it's really, really come along in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we've had multiple games with 7 implied run totals. We're going to see something at 8, aren't we? Here in July in Coors Field, someone's going to get an 8.
I think we could probably project out right now, just seeing a team going into Coors in July and August. You get the right weather, you get the right pitcher on the mound, and I thought maybe we could see one with LA here. And Alex had them at 8.2 last night because he comes up with his own implied totals. He had them at 8.2, the highest implied total he's seen over the past few years. So it's going to happen. I mean, the guys are just better hitters. They're hitting more home runs. You're seeing a lot of guys get called up when they probably shouldn't be. And as the weather heats up, of course, the implied totals are going to go up. But yeah, there's probably something going on with the ball. But I'm all for it. I'd like to see more runs scored.
I see they're saying ignite your natitude in chat, so I'm gonna wear you can't see me, but I'm wearing my Nationals ball cap.
I'll see you on the delay here.
The delay? All right. Yeah, should I go with backwards cap? I don't pull this look off at all. You want to see the dad look? There you go. Look at me. I'm better off with the sideways one, the Fernando Rodney, who, by the way, is now the closer of the Washington Nationals.
Yeah.
Bow and arrow time. 42 years old. I was laughing. I'm like, wait, what? They outright released Rosenthal, and good God, now what's for Fernando Rodney? Who knew? Okay, continuing along here, moving beyond the Nationals, we have 2 4:00 games left. This one is rather interesting. So Julio Teheran this season, and I just butchered his name because I know it's Teheran, but Jake, he's got some phenomenal numbers. So don't look at his game log. We're going to have some fun here. He has a sub-4 ERA. He has a relatively nice walks per innings pitched. But can you tell me his fantasy point total for the last 2 games combined, 1 game in Chicago and 1 game against these very same New York Mets?
I know he got blasted in the Mets start. I think he was okay in the Chicago start.
Wrong. He gave up 7 earned runs in the Chicago start.
Okay. He was fine for a while, and then he had the blow up inning.
He's gone 4 innings in each of the last 2 games. Only 2 home runs, 6 walks, not great. 8 total innings, 13 earned runs. Yikes, things have fallen off the wagon here. We've got, let me see here. This will be the 3rd time he has faced the Mets. He got him 2 starts ago, and then in the one prior to that, combined, he has a 6.3 ERA against the Mets, of nearly a 2 base runners per inning, and it's insane when you look at he's still got a sub-4 ERA despite that. Now, the interesting thing about him is he's been giving up power to righties for the last season and a half. So I think Alonso is fantastic in this matchup. I think even Robbie Cano, if we're looking to save a little bit, he's been disappointing as heck. But I guess when you change your training regimen like that can happen. Conforto, fantastic. The Todd father, Dominic Smith. I'm loving the Mets today. They're going to be my stack right up there with Cincy and Washington.
Man, yeah. Tehran versus lefties. And it looks like he's going to get a good helping of lefties near the top of the order with McNeil. You mentioned Cano, Conforto, Dominic Smith. And then even some power from the right side, Pete Alonso and Wilson Ramos as well. So I just don't think it's a good lineup for Tehran. Wind blowing out to right, which is going to help the lefties. 90 degrees, which is going to help the lefties. 5.1 implied total here. He's just got massive splits, 572 xFIP against left-handed bats on the season. So I don't know. I just don't think it sets up well for Tehran. I will be playing a lot of Mets, it looks like.
Did you know we also have the Sean V. seal of approval? He says Tehran shuts down the Mets in Citi Field. This is a horrible stack. All in, baby. All in.
I don't know if I agree with Sean on that one.
It's a warm one, 90 degrees. They've got the run total. Tehran he's been awful. He's 30. This is the last year of his contract with Atlanta. He's making $11 million this year. He's got a $1 million player option next year, but he'll be in the league, but he's not going to be making $11 million next year. That's just not going to happen. Steven Matz, 6,000. 6,000. Now that's an intriguing price point. Do we get good Steven Matz, or do we get Steven Matz getting his ass kicked by the Phillies Steven Matz today? Because there's no in between, it feels like, with him.
Yeah, that's a great question. One that I don't have the answer to, but he's simply put just a better pitcher than 6K. So he's got a chance at the win. I think he doesn't need to be perfect for this price. You can deal with a couple runs allowed, even like 3 or 4 runs allowed, and it's not a good strikeout matchup. But he's just like 2K underpriced for his talent level, I think. So I'm taking the savings with Matz. Right now, he is my second highest owned pitcher behind McKay. I would expect that to stick, even though the ownership is up there. He just makes too much sense for me to kind of avoid here, even in a tough matchup.
27 for Matz on Yahoo.
Yeah.
That's it. It doesn't feel great, but 27, you can do a lot at your other spots. And if you think of it this way, Matz plus Verlander there, and you're averaging them down to the mid 30s for a salary, or I guess that'd be a little higher, about 40. That's not bad. We'll see. Pomerantz is also similarly priced on Yahoo. Okay, the last game, randomly, a 4-12 game, Jake. 4-12. I don't know.
I saw that. What is up with that?
I guess they want it to be different. They're protesting something. I don't know. But 405 for Baltimore, 407 for Toronto, and then everybody's 410 and 412 randomly. It's random. So that just kind of caught my eye. But it is Michael Pineda going against Ivan Nova. Ivan Nova, 4,800. Yep, that's still not going to get me there. The Twins have a 5.8 implied run total. We do have their lineup. And, God, what does Garver is he just perpetually hurt?
Yeah, that's been his issue.
Because it's Jason Castro, who I don't mind, but, man, I'd rather have Garver. But Kepler, Polanco, Cruz, Crone, Scope, Sano, that's some serious pop in this lineup. Oh, Byron Buxton is back. Byron Buxton is back off the injured list. There you are. What are you going to do here with the fighting Jakes?
They're going to be in a lot of my lineups. Maybe not my top stack, but they're right next to the Nats. Nelson Cruz, I think, is one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. I know it's righty-righty. That doesn't really matter to me. Love Castro here as well. He is in the lineup. Twins lineup's already out. And it looks like they didn't roll out the AAA guys today. So that's helpful for us DFSers.
Last night's lineup was, I don't even know what to call it. It was a bizarre lineup.
It's so weird. Like, did they get in late on a flight? Like, something must have happened where, like, they felt like a bunch of their guys couldn't play. Like, the bottom of the lineup was just all AAA guys you've never heard of. And then they had Arias, lefty batting cleanup. It didn't make any sense. So we'll just chalk that one up to some unknown factors happening with the Twins. But normal lineup today, and really great spot, I think, against Nova. It's warm here, maybe not as warm as other places, but Nova's a guy who's just not going to be able to miss any bats against arguably the best hitting team in the majors right now.
Yeah, the lineup, it's a good point. It's reminiscent of the, hey, we clinched the pennant in September, the day after when everybody's hungover.
Yeah, it's weird. Do they know that they've got like 3 more months left before they can roll that lineup up?
Who knows? Going against Pineda or for Pineda in this one? 8,200. There are some strikeouts. Pineda gives up way too many home runs. He's never fully realized his talent. Get this guy some pine tar or something, but I'm just not enthralled with Pineda on this in pretty much any matchup. I need him in San Francisco or Miami. That's where I'm looking for Pineda.
Yeah, it's a tough spot for Pineda. I mean, good strikeout spot, very risky as always for a guy with home run issues. So I would like to be on both sides of this one if that's a cop out. I mean, I don't really care because I really love Moncada if he's in for 4,600, and then absolutely love Abreu, and then I also like Eloy Jimenez, who grades out well for us, which is no different than most days when he's 3,800. So there are definitely some bats I want to target against Pineda. Right now I'm at 15% of a 25% owned guy. So probably somewhere around the field on Pineda. Not a guy I'm like hitching my wagon to or anything and saying, take me to the promised land on this 8-game early slate.
Yeah. Props to DDS 2190 said 18 inning game the day before for the Twins. That's right. They had that afternoon game that turned into a night game basically on their getaway day. So thank you. I had forgotten that because I was not playing the afternoon slate. Firewalls at work, they block anything at my job with the word fantasy in it. So thankfully Osmo does not have fantasy in the URL.
I think that's strategic.
Yes, it's they don't want us wasting time. It's not wasting time.
I'm saying that not Osmo not having fantasy in the.
There we are.
I think that's strategic.
Good. See, that's what. Man, we're playing checkers and Alex is playing chess. That's what it comes down to.
That's right.
That's what it comes down to. All right, I am marking the time here. So it is, where are we? We are 52 minutes in. We're on the late slate here, 8:15 start. So when we get this up on podcast form, you can start listening now. And we're going to talk about the Dodgers at Colorado. Fun game last night. Lots of runs scored. Tonight, quite the departure. We have Clayton Kershaw and John Gray, both solid pitchers. I don't really want to go to either one of them. It's going to be 80 degrees here at first pitch. And the thing that's a little concerning, the Dodgers have a 7 implied run total. The Rockies have a 5.6. We're looking at a 12.5. Jake, Kershaw, it's Gray. What the hell is going on with the MLB these days?
Yeah, I mean, Kershaw, not the same Kershaw, so that's probably why you're seeing a 5.6 implied total. But yeah, 7 implied total against John Gray, kind of ridiculous. I know it's the Dodgers. I wouldn't go as far to say I have a ton of interest in Gray, but I think he at least deserves a look on this bad pitching slate. I mean, it's probably going to be concentrated in 3 guys, right? 3, yeah. Oh, wait, let me see here. Verlander, Woodruff, Pomeranz, Paddock. Okay. So 2 guys are going to get all the ownership in this range. And Gray's probably going to get absolutely no ownership. And he still is a really talented pitcher. He's a kind of guy I think that could go out there and ruin the LA stack while also getting a bunch of strikeouts. So while I love the Dodgers tonight, I'm probably going to be over the field on Gray if he's going to be at, let's see. Yeah, 1% ownership.
Yeah, I even with this run total, I don't feel like rushing towards it.
I mean, I can just tell you right now, 7 implied total. Going to have a lot of Dodgers. It's not a great matchup for Gray at all. I mean, lefty power all over the lineup, but he's too good of a pitcher to be completely unowned on a 6-game slate where you also get leverage if he does have a good performance.
No, and that's absolutely a fine option. Let me see. Rockies. Let's see who pitched last night. So Chad Bettis last pitch Thursday. Wade Davis, Haro Diaz, I'll pitch Thursday. We had Scott Oberg went Thursday, Friday, and then Estevez, McGee, Shaw all went Friday. So even though they used a lot of their bullpen, their guys, they still are relatively fresh. So they don't have a great bullpen. The other thing I wanted to point out is Jake McGee did pitch last night, 26 pitches. I doubt he goes again because he also pitched Wednesday and Tuesday, so it's 3 and 4. Unlikely he goes 4 and 5. That's beautiful for Peterson and Verdugo because the pinch hit risk, Jake, just fell off the table with those guys.
For sure.
Especially what's up with Verdugo? Is he the new Jacques Peterson? Because he's had some pop in the last few games.
Yeah, Verdugo's been solid, so I like going right back to him here, especially if you're stat. Like, I don't think we need to talk about the Dodgers that much. It's like you can always stack a team with the 7 total. It's just a matter of how owned are they going to be compared to their chances of actually being the top stack. And if they're under owned, I'm going to be over on them. And Gray is also going to be under owned at 1% if he sticks anywhere around there.
All right. 20 Rick, you have one YouTube chat for the day. You have one.
What is that?
He says, Jake Hari looks like the Sims character Emac would create online to meet girls. There we go. The taller, younger, more hair. There you are. That's the categories. Thomas Tyner says I should use VPN. Will is it Herbert or Aver? Says I should get tight with the IT team. Normally I do where I work. This one a little tougher. We defense contractors, so it's a whole different set of rules. So you have to respect what they're doing. Our firewalls are just absolutely nuts with what they have. So in any event, that's why I don't screw around on the work laptop. It's for work only. So makes it hard. This is how impressive our firewalls are. Even if you go on the guest VP or the guest internet and all of that, all of our same restrictions apply. So you have no choice. It's very sad. Very sad. Let's get on to the next game here. Love the Brew Crew. Really excited for Brandon Woodruff in this matchup tonight. Now, Pittsburgh does not strike out a ton, but Woodruff has been really good. He's 8,100. He's one of the guys I think we're going to look to. And even if you're pairing him with Justin Verlander, yes, you're going to forego some of those Dodgers hitters, but there's a couple other spots we can go to for some guys. And I think this game is one of them. Going against Jordan Lyles has a little bit of the splits issue. Let me see. I took some notes down on him. Specifically, he has, he's been with 5 different franchises in 9 years. He has a career 4.4 ERA, 1.22 whip, 6.7 K per 9. That's in 830 innings, Jake. He tweaked his hamstring. I want to say it was on the 10th, and he was out for a couple weeks. He did have a rehab start for AAA Indianapolis on the 23rd, went 84 pitches. So he should be good to go here. But I want the Brew Crew, all of them. Grandal, Yelich, Moustakas, Thames, Keaston, Hiria. I want all the Brewers tonight.
Yep, I do too. Yelich, I think, is outside of Coors, probably Bellinger would be the top raw point player on the slate, but Yelich, I don't think too far behind here. And then you've got some cheap Brewers all over the place. So they've disappointed in a big way as of late, but they keep getting these high implied totals and decent pitching matchups. So I'm going to be going right back to them. I don't see a lot of reason for me to get to Lyles, especially if you said he's coming off an injury. Woodruff, I think, is interesting because it's not a good strikeout matchup, but he has been just really awesome. So I'm probably willing to overlook the strikeout matchup here and play a bunch of Woodruff if I had to guess. We're obviously a long way out from lock, but he's just been so good that for 8,100, it's kind of like the Steven Matz play. Not a great matchup, but he's underpriced relative to his talent level.
Yeah, and Woodruff on Yahoo 41, so he's right there with Eflin, who the 43 for Eflin feels like a nice discount. So I think I'd lean towards Eflin there. If you're playing the 8 o'clock only slate, then obviously Woodruff is by himself. in that tier, but we do have some other choices. We'll talk about Chris Paddock in a minute. He's a little more expensive, and Dakota Hudson is $1 less. But those would be the kind of guys in his price point, and Tyler Skaggs. So all guys we're going to get to there. But I do like Woodruff on the 4 o'clock slate here, in particular for Yahoo in my 10 lineups. It looks like there's just a couple spots left in that management fee free contest. So check that out. I'm going to drop the Spotlight Hitters article in the chat. Once again, third paragraph has the link to the and the instructions on how to sign up for Yahoo and get your $30 initial deposit bonus there. That's your DFS deposit bonus. So if you've played cash season long leagues there, that's in a different part of their site than the DFS, so it should still work for you. Follow the instructions and come in on our link. It helps us out. And then also right there is the link to the Spotlight Pitchers article, which Jake did today. So that is free as well. Jordan Lyles is going to be a no. If you wanted to go against Woodruff, a little bit of leverage perhaps. Is it going to be the resurgent, I don't want to say resurgent, the emerging Josh Bell, Colin Moran, Dickerson triumvirate?
They're expensive, man. The Pirates all over the place, kind of expensive. I know on Yahoo yesterday they were priced through the roof. But yeah, Bell would be the guy I would prefer to go to. Maybe I get to a Marte or something like that. Bell Marte mini stack if you're trying to go off the board and get leverage, like you said. But I don't know. I'd like to find bats elsewhere. I don't think too many Pirates are going to end up in my lineups.
All right. Well, people are trying to guess Sean V's Twitter handle. The leader in the clubhouse right now is Josh is wrong.
Yeah, there you go.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. On to our next game here. Hey, it's Justin Verlander. He is the guy of guys tonight. He is priced like he is the guy of guys. And he's going against the Mariners that have they are carrying a 3.4 implied run total here. The roof will be closed in Houston. So Verlander is just looking phenomenal. Again, we are paying, but head and shoulders above everybody. On the other side, you have UC Kikuchi. He's at 4,800. Do not play him. He gives up way too many home runs, even though he has not qualified in innings. I think he has given up like the 7th or 8th most home runs this season. I want to say it's like a dozen in his last 6 starts. He's a mess. Almost everybody is back for Houston. They're still missing Carlos Correa, but George Springer, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman. There's our short list for home runs of the night tonight, Jake. Right?
Yeah, I would think so. Kikuchi, he's been pretty rough as of late, just allowing a ton of power. And now you get that Houston Astros who are healthy. Springer, Altuve, Bregman, Gurriel, Chirinos, you got Brantley, even though it's lefty-lefty. I mean, just a really rough matchup for him. So Astros have a case to be the number one stack. I think tonight, 6.2 implied total. A little lower than the Dodgers, but when you factor in the possible ownership, you might get, depending where Coors lands. Absolutely love the Astros. And then I think this game's the easiest because it's Verlander and it's Astros bats, and you kind of move on. Are we targeting against Verlander at all? Like looking for solo shots from Vogelbach, and that's really it. Maybe Domingo Santana.
Oh, YouTube chat is amazing today. Sean V spelled backwards is the French word for devil. Okay, now I'm scared. Now I'm actually scared. Parlez-vous français? No. Merde. 3 to go. 3-game 10 o'clock slate. Jake, we got everything split out quite nicely at 8. 3 at 8, 3 at 10. Zach Greinke, Drew Pomerantz. What are we projected for? 2.5 runs combined between these teams in San Francisco? It certainly feels that way after looking at some of these other totals here. But Greinke at 9,500 gets a matchup here against San Francisco that is one of the more enviable in the league. He is, however, carrying an appropriate price tag so we're not getting a great deal on him. But looking around outside of Verlander, he's probably the guy to go to off of Verlander. And if you don't want to go to Woodruff, if he ends up being a little bit chalky. Pomeranz on the other side, 6,400, coming off a masterful performance, career high or career tying 11 strikeouts in that game. 6,400 here. The only downside, the Arizona Cardinals. Good God! I'm doing football research. The Arizona Diamondbacks actually can hit lefties, even without Goldie, even without AJ Pollock. You've got Escobar, Marte, Jones, Walker, Ahmed. Those guys are all solid against lefties. Let's start off with Pomeranz. He's definitely cheap. He's going to be packing a lot of ownership tonight. Do you want to go to Pomeranz?
Yeah, I think I want to go to Pomeranz. It's a tougher strikeout matchup, way tougher than what he faced last time when he had the 11 strikeouts in 5 innings, but he's missing bats. And there are some there's some strikeouts in this lineup. So don't expect a bunch of strikeouts or anything like that. But you still have Peralta in there, Christian Walker, and then pitcher. I know Greinke's a good hitter for a pitcher, but he still strikes out well above average. So the park is mainly what you're looking at, and the price, and the fact that Pomeranz has he's been unlucky, but you saw it kind of all come together in that last start. So he's capable of missing some bats here. And obviously anybody can basically keep the ball in the yard here. So just too cheap for him. I'm playing him as chalk for the second straight time, which I didn't think would be a thing coming into the season.
How old do you think Pomeranz is?
30?
He is 30. Good guess.
Is he?
If you haven't looked, don't look. What do you think his ERA is on the season?
Oh, it's got to be way up there. It's probably like 5.5.
6.8.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's been really bad.
Home, it's 4.1. Away, 9.76.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's pretty rough. I mean, the park is always favorable in San Francisco. Oracle Park, I believe it's called.
Yes, he's got. So this is evenly split. So 7 starts on the road and at home, 30 and 2/3 innings at home, 27 and 2/3 on the road. So everything's like relatively equal. 11 of his 15 home runs have come on the road. His walks are neutral. 13 at home, 15 on the road. Strikeouts, 42 at home, 28 on the road. I guess you can't strike people out when they're hitting home runs. So
yeah, pretty cool to do.
That is some stark differences there. Former FanVice compatriot of mine, he used to make jokes about the less than stellar San Francisco Giants pitchers, and he would say that that San Francisco was their superpower, and the farther away they got, the weaker their powers became. Sounds
about right.
It's a pretty good analogy there. But yikes, that is some very heavy differences there. 2 to go. Brett Anderson going against the Angels. Not something I really want to go to. The Angels don't strike out a lot. Anderson doesn't get strikeouts. The Angels are fully healthy now. We've got Andrelton Simmons back, Justin Upton. So all of a sudden, Pujols and Calhoun. Well, Calhoun's okay against lefties. He does have a little bit of pop, but he drops all the way to the bottom of the order. Pujols will probably bat 6th, maybe 7th tonight, depending on who's in there and what they do with catcher. But I don't want any part of Brett Anderson until we get to that 3-game late slate, which then, we're playing 2 pitchers and there are only 6 to choose from, but he will not be in my plans on the main slate. Tyler Skaggs, 9,000. Let's put a pin in that one. What do you want to do with Anderson? Do you think the Angels are a viable stack? We have like 4 or 5 teams, I think, that are viable stacks on this 8-game late slate.
Yeah, I think you can get to a little bit of an Angel stack, especially if Upton's back in. You've got Trout, Ohtani out, and 3 outfielders. Pujols is priced below probably where he should be, and then same thing with Andrelton Simmons, assuming he's back in. So just a lot of right-handed bats. The ball is going to be in play, as it always is with Brett Anderson. So not a guy I'm looking at for the main slate, I don't think. I mean, he's 5,700, so you could probably make a case for him. I'm not going to do that just because there's basically no strikeout upside here. So I think I agree with you, more on Angels bats than anything here.
Oh, I'm on the wrong slate here. I just filtering here because I want to see. And sorry, I meant to say 6 teams on the 8 o'clock slate, not
Mhm.
8 teams on the 6 o'clock slate. Popularity: Pomeranz coming in at 30, Woodruff 34, Verlander 36. So that feels about right on DK. Greinke just at 22, and then Dakota Hudson. We're going to talk about him in the last game. He's coming in at 20%. That's a little bit intriguing. Not the easiest of matchups. He's sort of Marcus Stroman light with his ground balls, but we'll get there in a minute. Tyler Skaggs, 9,000. That does not feel like a fun price point against the Athletics. The Athletics do have a lot of power. We'll have to see if Chris Davis is in the lineup or not. But Piscotty's back. Pender's always good. Conrad Chapman, etc., etc. They have some solid righties with pop. What would you like to do with Tyler Skaggs at 9,000? He is, I want to say he's a lot cheaper on Yahoo. He's 40 on Yahoo.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about Skaggs. I doubt I get to much of any of him. Could be surprised by the time we get closer to lock, but the A's aren't a very good strikeout matchup. You've got Chapman and Chris Davis if he's back. Piscotty hits lefties decently well. Kana, Semien. I mean, it's not a great matchup for Skaggs, and Skaggs is a fine pitcher, but I think he's right around average as far as K rate for the season against both righties and lefties. So there's just nothing that sticks out to me that makes me want to play him for 9K. If I'm going to him, I'd rather just go up to Greinke at 9,500 and take advantage of that park.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's maneuver on to our last game here. This is the Cardinals at Padres. We have Dakota Hudson at 6,900 there on DraftKings, Jake.
That's nice.
It is. And then Chris Paddock, 83. So I think both these guys are in play. We have a 8 point whatever implied run total here. I can't tell with the rounding if it's 8 or 8.5, but either way, one of the lower scoring games on the slate. Chris Paddock, solid though not spectacular amongst the several youngsters there for the Pod Squad, but he's going against a mostly righty lineup there. Probably will face Carpenter, who's been out for a couple games, Colton Wong, and then depending on what they do with Dexter Fowler, if he's in the switch hitting Dexter Fowler. So decent spot for him, and a 3.8 implied run total confirmed there by Vegas that says we're not that excited about the Cards. On the other side, Dakota Hudson, I think, is in play, both on the three game 10 o'clock slate and the 6 game main slate for 6,900. Gives you some flexibility there with your salary cap, and again, he's got the ground ball lean. So if he can keep that up and just survive, that's all we're looking for here. I would be doing cartwheels for a quality start from him. How would you like to approach the pitching in our final game of the slate?
Hudson, I'm so torn on. Like, he's had decent results in some of these starts and like matchups you wouldn't expect, but like LA and the Mets. But he's not getting chases. He's not getting a lot of swinging strikes. He's not even getting a lot of first pitch strikes. So just had a quick look at him. I know he's a really good ground ball pitcher, so this park is not going to hurt him or anything like that. But I think I'm going to get to a ton of Pomeranz, and I just like Pomeranz is going to grade out better for me than Hudson. So it would be tough for me to pay up $500 outside of just being contrarian to be contrarian, I think.
Okay.
And then Paddock, kind of flip a coin between him and Brandon Woodruff. It's not a perfect strikeout matchup against the Cardinals, but Paddock is talented and he's at home. He's a favorite. The only issue I have with Paddock really is his ability to go deep in games. He hasn't gone over 92 pitches his last 6 starts.
If you had to pick the most strikeouts, and we're going to combine the slates here,
Okay.
Would it be Dakota Hudson, would it be Bailey, or would it be Cashner?
I think Bailey for me. It's kind of gross.
And the winner with 4 strikeouts today is
I think it might be like 4 that tops the other 2. Yeah, that's rough. I think Cashner would be a clear third for me, and then it'd be between Hudson and Bailey. But Bailey actually does have some swing and miss, despite how bad he is overall.
That is true. That is true. It's just fun to start thinking about this stuff, because this is, I mean, both these slates are kind of unique in their own way, and this is the fun thing about daily fantasy sports. Matchups vary. Weather comes into play dramatically for baseball, particularly as we're heading into these summer months. All of a sudden, Comerica Park, Busch Stadium, they turn into hitters' parks in this time of year, and people sleep on that. Kaufman does as well, and they miss that. And on the flip side, when we come in those first 3-4 weeks in at the end of March and beginning of April, people forget. They're looking at overall and numbers and season long numbers, and they forget that Texas is not that bad in April and stuff like that, which is something that I still think is one little bit of an edge that we have now. And Jake sort of pointed this out a little bit, but with all of the hot games today, this improves the indoor games. Because they're staying neutral, and all the other offensive environments are going beyond them. So that all of a sudden you're looking at even Minute Maid Park and Miami and Miller Park, if the roof's closed, etc., they get a little bit better. So even though Miller Park's a phenomenal hitting park, it is going to be a little bit better pitching park than at least a quarter of the games today. So just keep that in mind as we're looking at a variety of things in all of the different contexts. Any final thoughts before we get on out of here? Any plugs? You did a bunch of content today.
Yeah, cheat sheets for the early slate are out, so you can find those in the MLB tab under articles. Spotlight pitchers is out, your spotlight hitters as well. So a bunch of free content, and then get in premium Slack. Use that promo code MLB strategy if you want to have access to us all day, every day, basically.
I know Jake's getting all emotional here. Look at that.
Yeah, I know, choking up.
Get behind the paywall. It's fun. You can hang out. You make fun of me. That's a popular pastime in the Slack chat. So it's good fun. It's good fun. Plus tons of information. I learn something new every day, just by people's different takes and either trying to prove out something I think or debunk what somebody else thinks. You learn more, and it's fun to be challenged like that. You don't get caught in your own little vacuum, and you get to hang out in the WNBA channel with Seth, who gives you the good plays, lets you know. WNBA has like the worst injury reporting in the history of ever. You don't even know if the players are on the trip with the team. God only knows how we don't find that out on Instagram and Twitter and all that fun stuff, but it's horrible. But Seth stays on top of that, and there's edge to be had there as well. And if you're paying attention, they are smaller slates, a lot of 2-gamers, but there tends to be overlay if their start times coincide on Fridays at 7:00 with MLB. You can find room in some of the contests if they do a bad job of sizing these things. So it's just one of those little ways you can find an additional, the ever elusive and ever diminishing edge. But there are ways to get there. But you can get that in the premium Slack chat. So I think that's worth the price alone, let alone the ownership projections for literally every sport and slate at this point, and everything else we have. So I think, is MMA this weekend?
I don't know. I think so, actually.
I'll double check. I know NASCAR's at 3 and we've on Sunday, and we've got all sorts of good stuff for that. But I think this is an MMA weekend. Let me see. Yes, it is 6:00. Is when they start. So DK's got about 2,500 spots left in their $15 main event. $25,000 to first, $130,000 price point. You get what I like. You get MMA projections, and they're actually good, and they're helpful. And then you can read Josh's articles and information, or pester him in Slack. And there's a whole channel devoted to MMA, and these guys watch the fights. And I'm like, strong strike and whatever and this and that, but they watch the fights and they go, this guy's got a weak chin, or this guy's style of fighting beats 9 out of 10 guys, but the guy he's facing tonight, he's not going to know what to do with him. And it's those helpful little things that can really get you there on these niche type sports. But with that, we're going to get on out of here. Again, it's an 8:15 start. We're still going to go at 6:15 tonight, but you will find us talking about the 6-gamer there. It will be a fun one. So you can follow Jake over there at JKari on the Twitter sphere. I am at EMACDFS, and it is Osmo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.